At the moment, it's impossible to say what was going through the mind of a US soldier when he opened fire on these Afghan civilians. But the repercussions will spread far beyond the village traumatized by what's happened.
They killed a child who was 2 years old. Was this child Taliban? There is no Taliban here. Americans are always threatening us with dogs and helicopters during night raids.
The soldier walked out of his base in Kandahar in the early hours of Sunday morning, heading for villagers' homes nearby. According to a team of Afghan investigators, the soldier went from home to home, targeting anyone inside. 9 women, 3 children and 4 men were killed in the attack.
Well, we have to look into what the motivation of the soldier who is in custody was at the time. All we know so far is he left the base. He returned to the base after the incident, was taken into custody straight away, and the investigation is ongoing, which will include what was the reasoning and what was the circumstances of his doings.
The killings happened in an area of Afghanistan known as the spiritual home of the Taliban. Relations between the US military and the Afghan government were already strained following the burning of copies of the Quran at the Bagram military base. 41 Afghans died and 6 US soldiers were killed in the protests that followed.
It could play its role in damaging the relationship, of course, but it will be very early to talk about it more. But what has happened is very unfortunate.
The US government was also quick to try and limit the damage.
We deplore any attack by a member of the US Armed Forces against innocent civilians and denounce all violence against civilians. We assure the people of Afghanistan that the individual or individuals responsible for this terrible act will be identified and brought to justice.
The district where the killings took place is described as tense, a mood that could spread across the country. Afghan President Hamid Karzai described what happened as murder, terror and unforgivable. Elsewhere, there are calls for the US soldier responsible for the shootings to be handed over to the Afghan justice system. That is extremely unlikely to happen. The killings are likely to weaken the already very low levels of trust that the Afghan public has for much of the US military. Bernard Smith, Al Jazeera, Kabul.